Hey, you cool cats and kittens out there. I'm just kidding. Hi, guys, and welcome back to my channel and to my Patreon. If you're looking at this on my channel, YouTube channel, this is actually a course that I am teaching on my Patreon. So it's $1.99 for my Patreon if you want to sign up, and I'm teaching psychic and mediumship classes. So in today's video, this is like episode 23. I think it's like the 23rd class that I've taught. So if you want to catch up with all my other psychic and mediumship courses, go ahead and go to my Patreon. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about free will versus fate, because I think a lot of you out there that would be tuning in have that question. A lot of you are asking, what is fate and what is free will? And if I get a psychic reading from anyone, is it going to always play out the way that the psychic has said? So I want to, bring some light to that and help you guys to better understand. So the first thing that I'm going to say is no. Every time that you get a psychic reading, the psychic says that your boyfriend's going to cheat, or this and this is going to happen. It's a scenario that plays out. This is a scenario that they are seeing. Some people have, like I have, the ability to see certain future events. Only what God allows me to see, or what God allows other people to see. Some people don't refer to it as God. Some people refer to it as spirit. Some people refer to it as source. I refer to it as God or source. Okay, and so what we get to see with some of the snippets and things that we are giving people, or what we are given when we get psychic readings, is basically a possible outcome. It's not always going to happen at the exact timeline that some people give. It's not going to always happen with the exact description that the psychic gave you. However, for the most part, certain things do play out. Now, how do we distinguish between free will and fate? So I'm going to start with fate. When we talk about fate, fate is your destiny. It is what and how you are going to be coming into the world, who is going to be your parents, who's going to be your partners or partners in life, who's going to be part of your soul family, who is all going to be your friends, and at the end of your lifetime here on earth, before you transition to spirit, how are you going to exit this world? I think a lot of people do not realize that a lot of us have come from past lives. We have come from so many old previous lives, and so we've reincarnated over and over and over again. But every time that we reincarnate, we are born again into a physical body here on earth, because we are spiritual beings living a human experience. We choose a blueprint. We write a contract, and it's called a blueprint. Some people call it a contract, some people call it potato. I'm just it's so funny, because I get people are like, well, not to throw any shade, but they're like, it's not called murder hornets, it's called Japanese hornets or Asian hornets and blah blah blah. And I'm like, girl, come on, potato. But anyways, oh, I have so much fun just kind of throwing that out there. Anyways, like I was saying, when we have our our fate, it's a blueprint, and our soul chooses how we're going to live our life here, what career we're going to choose. Everything is pre-written. That's how, when we do past life readings, we tap into the Akashic records, which is basically a place where all of the of your soul's journeys, previous journeys and present, reside. And it's like almost like where all that information is stored. So I'm trying to just break it down in layman's terms so that everybody can understand. Now, fate, when we're talking about fate, this is like how I interpret fate, is that it is predestined. These are things that we cannot change. The only thing that we can possibly change is death, which what I mean by that is that even though we have written a contract out, there are certain things in the contract, like death, that we can kind of change or bypass. And this is going to be our free will that comes into play. And I'll talk about free will in a moment. So, like, people have different exit points that they can leave this world and exit. Some people that commit suicide exit before their time, or they found the energy to be so strong and energetically not aligned with them that they wanted to exit out of the check. It's basically like checking out of an airport sooner than your your departure time. You're checking out. That's the best way I can put it. So some people check out at a different time. Some people are given a second chance. Like, I've had a lot of people that, like myself, that have had near-death experiences, and we're like left thinking, well, why didn't I die that day? Why did I come back? Because again, it was not your time. Either you have something to still accomplish, or there's somebody that needs you here in the physical world, and they need you to be here present in the physical sense. So I think that that's really, really important for people to understand how how fate works. I do believe, and I am a firm believer, that there are other things that we can change with our free will, even though we may have, written, but that's where it goes into kind of, I don't want to confuse anyone, but just to give you an example, like, let's say you have a client, and that client got married to Billy Bob. Okay, and this is Angelina Jolie. I'm just using some fictitious, real people. So I'm just not going to say Angelina. I'm going to say Luann. Okay, so Luann and Billy Bob. Okay, and Luann, I think I said her name right. Luann, she got married with him. She was like, Billy Bob is the man of my dreams. Blah blah blah. Years passed by. He's my soulmate. Blah blah blah. Then, boom, divorce. And they're like, well. She's like, well, I thought you were my soulmate, and why am I going through this now? Because both parties had free will to change it, and they both agreed to change it. So even though it's written in your blueprint, there are certain things that you can alter. I'm a firm believer in that. So there are certain things that are pre-written that you cannot change. Like, we cannot change the fact that we're going to be born into this world. We cannot change the fact that we're going to leave this world someday, because those are things that no one has mastered. Everyone leaves this physical body behind at some point. But the thing that we can change is our free will. Now, what is free will? Free will is almost like what I want to say, like, it is what Spirit has given us while we're here on earth, or God Source has given us to decipher between right and wrong and to make our own decisions for our own journey. That's why you hear some people say, I'm the master of my own destiny, or I can create my own destiny. We're co-creators with the universe. You hear a lot of those terms. It is because with that, free will, it gives us like the wild card in Uno. So you're playing the game, you get a wild card, right? And so then you know how that goes with Uno. I'm not going to get into it. So let's say like you are stuck in a very unfruitful marriage, right? And that relationship is just like tearing you apart each and every day. You can't tolerate this person. You're like, it's so stifling, but you have fears that you don't want to leave him. Now, you know that this person possibly was your soulmate, but we can have more than one soulmate, right? But you also know that staying in that relationship is going to create karmic baggage for you down the road, because you know that it's not good for your soul. You're sticking with it, and it's just bringing you down, honey, okay? So the fact is that you are given free will to make your own choices. No one is forcing you to stay in that relationship. You have, this is not like a communist nation, or a communist is telling you, you have to marry this person. You have to stay married until the day that you die. No one is asking you to do that. That's how our free will works. So you have the choice to walk out or stay in that. And that's how we can navigate through this thing called life. We are given free will to make our own choices. Nobody gives you a needle and says, inject yourself with poison, or to inject yourself with drugs, right? People choose to do that. Okay, some people may not agree with me. Some people, are very much stuck in their own opinions, their own ways of thinking or viewpoints, and that's fine. There are certain things that we do not choose, like being gay. And people think that we choose to be gay or lesbian or transgender. And those things are not, those are things that are predestined. Okay. So I think that's why I wanted to talk about this in this class, which is talking about free will and, fate. I feel like it's very much our fate for those of us that are gay, lesbian, or transgender, or bisexual, whatever, gender fluid, gender binary, non-gender binary, whatever you want to call it. There's so many terms out there that you can't even keep up nowadays. What has happened is that essentially a lot of these souls, we have come to Earth in the right body, but some people say that we are in the wrong body, but our soul has made a decision already. It was already written that way, that at a certain time we would come out to the family, or that we would, change, our appearance, or change and modify our bodies. So I'm very much believe that this is not a choice that we make. We are born this way, just like Lady Gaga would say, baby, in that song, Baby, I Was Born This Way. We are born this way. It's so true. We are born that way. It's like you can't change that. Those are things that are predestined already. We agree to go through that. Now, some people would be saying, well, why would a person be agreeing to be murdered, or etc.? You have to understand that our souls don't feel any pain, and that our souls, before we are born, we make all these decisions. And some people decide to sacrifice themselves to be the sacrificial type of soul that is going to set an example. So like a lot of the cases that we're seeing of these young black men that are being murdered, right? Or young black women, or white women, white men, Asians, whatever out there, that is going through, like they were shot in the back, or they were, stabbed, whatever. The situation is that all of this was predestined. Now, I do believe that there are dark souls there that can interfere with our destinies as well. Okay. So there are people that can interfere with our destinies. That's a whole nother topic. It's very rare, but it happens. Like Selena Quintanilla Perez, when she was murdered. She was murdered by Yolanda Saldivar. Other examples out there. There's so many that I could go on. There are dark souls that have come to Earth that don't want that person to complete their mission, and they will do whatever they can to tempt fate, to play with our destiny. And that's when the person has to reincarnate to come back, but they automatically get straight entry into heaven if they are murdered. Now, I had a question that popped up the other day. What if somebody that murdered someone is murdered themselves? Do they go into heaven? The answer is no. The reason for that is because that person took a life. So it's not like it, in an equation you have two negatives and it makes a positive. It doesn't do that. Like, it doesn't balance itself out. Okay? But then that other person that killed the murderer is also going to go straight to hell, even though it was justice in their hands. So that's the reason this is so heavy and so difficult to explain on so many levels. I could kind of branch off. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible for you guys that are listening today, so you can kind of understand the reason that things happen the way that they do, and the difference between fate and free will. It's very important to understand that. So again, going back to a reading, or, any kind of spiritual advice that you get from someone, keep in mind that it's not written in stone, especially if it hasn't happened already. It's not written in stone. And sometimes psychics will give you the insight that spirit is revealing to them, so that way you can use your free will for the greater good. What do I mean by that? Basically, using the information that you were given to make the best decision for yourself, maybe to avoid that. Sometimes their predictions may not come true because you were given, if you think back to the psychic readings that you were given by someone, whoever that may have been, they may have given you some insight, and for some reason you use that insight to change things, to change the patterns, to change your decisions. And again, that is part of our free will, okay? So I hope that this video really helped you. I hope that you really enjoyed it. If you're seeing this on my YouTube channel, my regular YouTube channel, not through my Patreon, then know that this is part of what I teach. I'm giving you kind of like a taste of what I teach my students out there. I call them my students, my little rays of light. I love you so, so much. And if you are interested in signing up for my Patreon, it's www.patreon.com/Psychic Medium Ray, and it's $1.99 per month. And come and join the Patreon family, become a patron. So I want to thank you so much. Also, just a reminder, all of my readings are going to be back on Friday, May 15th. Get ready. I'm so excited. I have some other good news that's going to be announced in the month of June, quite possibly July as well. So keep in mind. So I love you so, so much. Blessings and love and light. Until next time. Bye.